The Sphinx and the Prince.
There was once a prince in Egypt called Thutmose, who was the son of Pharaoh and Imhotep, and the grandson of Thutmose III, who succeeded the great Queen Hatshepsut. He had many brothers and brothers, and because he was Pharaoh's favorite son, they were forever plotting against him. Usually, these plots were to make the Pharaoh think that Thutmose was unworthy or unsuitable to succeed him. Sometimes, there were attempts to make the people or the priests believe that Thutmose was cruel or extravagant, or did not honor the gods, and so would make him a bad ruler of Egypt. But once or twice, the plots were aimed at his very life. All this made Thutmose troubled and unhappy. He spent less and less of his time at Thebes and Memphis with Pharaoh's court, and more frequently rode on expedition into Upper Egypt or across the desert to the seven great oases. And even the Pharaoh commanded his presence or his position demanded that he must attend some great festival. He would slip away whenever he could with a few trusted followers or even alone and in disguise to hunt to the edge of the desert.
Thutmose was skilled in only many exercises. He was a bowman who could plant arrow in the center of the target. He was a skilled charioteer and his horses were faster than the wind. Sometimes he would course antelope for miles across the sandy stretches of desert. At others, he would seek out the savage lion in their lies among the rocks far above the banks of the Nile. One day, when the court was in residence at Memphis for the great festival of Ra at Heliopolis, a few miles farther down the Nile, Thutmose escaped from all the pomp and pageantry to hunt to the edge of the desert. He took with him only two servants and he drove his own chariot up the steep road, past the Saqqara with the great step pyramid of Djeser stand, and away through the scrub and stunted trees where the cultivated land or the Nile fading to stony wasted in the stretches of the sand and rock of the great Libyan desert. We set up the first glimmer of the dawn so that it might have as much as possible before the great heat of midday, as they coursed Jason northwards over the desert of many miles, parallel to the Nile but some of miles from it. By the time the sun grew too hot for hunting, Thutmose and his followers had reached the point, not very far away from the great pyramids of Giza, which a pharaoh of the Fourth Dynasty had built over 1200 years. They stopped to rest under the palm trees, but presently Thutmose, desiring to be alone and wishing to make his prayer to the great god Harmachis, entered his chariot and drove away over the desert, bidding his servant for wait for him. Away speed, Thutmose, for the sun was firm and smooth. At the last, he drew near to the pyramids of Khufu, Khafra, and Ura, towering up toward the sky. The burning sun of midday flashing the golden peaks and glittering down the polished side like ladders of light leading up the boat of Ra as it sailed across. Thutmose gazed in awe at this man-made mountain of stone, but most of all, his attention was caught by a gigantic head of neck of stone that rose out of the sun within the greatest pyramid, a nearly buried meteoric temple of huge spire stone, blocks the stone and either side of stone. Horsemen leading the distant at night, behind him, right at the foot of the second pyramid, the pair of Khafra. This is a colossal carving of Hermes, the god of the rising sun, in the form of lion, with the head of Pharaoh of Egypt, the form he had taken when he became the hunter of followers of Set. Khafra caused his Sphinx that carved out the outcrop of solid rock that happened to rise above in the sun. Near the professional causeway leading from the Nile to his great pyramid and his head hidden and sculpture, shape of the head and face of Hercules in a likeness of his own. During the long centuries, since Khafra laid to the rest of the pyramid, the sun of the desert had blown against the Sphinx and it almost buried. Thutmose could see more than his head and shoulder, and little ridge in desert to mark the line of his back. For a long while, he looked stand in the majestic face of the Sphinx, crowned with the royal crown of Egypt, that the cobra's head and its brow on which held the place of gold embroidered line with the keep sun of head and neck. Only here the falls were the stone, only the head of serpent filled into the carved rock was of gold. The noonday, Sun beat merciless down upon Thutmose's gaze at the Sphinx and prayed the hierophant for help in all his troubles. Suddenly, it seems to him that the great stone image began to stir. It tapped and struggled and is trying to drain her of the sand, which covered his body and clothes, and the eyes were no longer carved stone inlaid with lapis lazuli, but stone and light vision as they looked down upon him. Then the Sphinx spoke to him in a great voice, and yet suddenly a father spake to his son. Look upon me, Thothmes, Prince of Egypt, and know that I am Hercules, your father, the father of all Pharaoh, of the upper lower lands. It rests of you become the Pharaoh, indeed the wear upon your head, the double crown of south and north. It rests with you whenever or not you sit upon the throne of Egypt, and whether the people of the world come and kneel before your image. If you indeed become Pharaoh will never produce, but the two lands shall be yours, together with the tribute of all countries of the world. Besides all this, long years of life, health, and strength shall be yours. Thutmose, my face is turned towards you, my heart inclines to you, to bring you good things your spirit shall be right in mine. But see how the sun is closing around on me every side. It smothers me, it holds me down, it hides me from your eyes. Promise me that you will do all the good son should do for his father. Prove me that you are indeed my son and you will help me. Draw to me and I will be yours always. I will guide you and make you reign. Then, as Thothmes stepped forward, the sun seemed to shine from the eyes of Hercules, the Sphinx so bright that they dazzled him, and the world went black as sun around him, so that he felt insensible on the sun. When he recovered, the sun was sinking towards the summit of the Bucharest pyramid, and the shadow Sphinx lay over him. Slowly, he rose to his feet, and the vision he had seen came rushing back to his mind. As he gazed, the great ship, half hidden in the sun, which already turned pink and purple in the evening light. Hermachus, my father, he cried, I call upon you on the gods of Egypt to bear witness to my oath. If I become a pharaoh, the first oath of my reign shall be free to use yours image from the sun, and build a shrine to you, and set the stone tilling that sacred writing of them, command and how I fulfilled it. Then Thutmose turned to seek his chariot, and a moment later, his servant who had been anxiously searching for him came back riding up. Thutmose rode back to the Memphis, and half that day all went with him. Very soon, Amenhotep the pharaoh proclaimed his privacy as Harda, and not very long afterwards, Thutmose did indeed become king of Egypt, one of her greatest kings.